We saw the people. We wanted to give you what you want. We saw the bets being placed about start time. Will it be 5:45? James says 5:40. Hank said 5:36.
Hey, I
I said
won.
I have to beat them
I
all.
said 5:33. So winner.
Yeah, I said we have to beat them all. So
And
here we
Ty's
are.
nice, Hank, because I literally told Ty to start at 5:35 with 35 seconds left on the
He
clock.
did.
Mhm.
He
Yeah,
lobbied
he
for
did.
that.
He
He
did.
lobbied for that, and I was like, you know what? I'm antsy now. Let's get it going. But guys, y'all know the drill. We haven't had a live in a minute. I had a little bit of a vacation, came back last week, and then had a bit of family stuff go on. So have been uploading a lot less this month, and especially over the past week. But y'all know the drill. Let the people know where they can find all of your great content. Go ahead,
Oh,
Peachy.
yeah,
Looking
y'all
down, typing.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Hello.
listen, guys, I am in the process of buying another house. So mortgage people hitting up my line all the time. Hey, I
Oh,
feel like a
jeez.
recruit with the coaches hitting you up. But no, seriously. You guys can find me on YouTube, The PG Show, all one word, Google, Apple, or Spotify. Listen, we're actually bringing a lot of recruit interviews from the guys that were on campus this past weekend at Oklahoma. A lot of good stuff there. So you guys want to be tuning in.
Yeah, Drew England, the Under Official Review podcast host over there. We do all things football, whether it's high school, college, and NFL stuff. We just like to have fun. And then for your OU content, the Anything OU podcast, strictly all OU stuff. So you can find us on all the major platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, all that good stuff. So yeah, Ty, happy to be on once again. And yeah, let's give the people what they want.
It's been too long. It's been way too long. And now we got the best dressed man in the West coming in here.
Oh, man.
Is that houndstooth? Are we rocking a houndstooth suit over there? What we got going on?
No.
Hey,
no.
I can't wait. This telecast, this live just got better, and I'll let Chris do that later. But
Yeah.
this one just got better. I love it.
What's up, bro? This is JC Penney. So that's
Penney.
that's what this is, JC
Hey,
Penney. Right?
Don't hate on the JC Penney, dude. You can get some swag out of some JC Penney.
That's what I'm trying to say. So
Yeah.
Y'all are shopping at the wrong place. Y'all got to go to Kohl's, get the Kohl's cash from when you
hold
returned
on.
stuff to Amazon.
Whoa.
TJ Maxx, baby.
Yes. Yeah.
Listen, I'm a cheap guy. So
That's why I go to TJ Maxx.
I go to
That's why I go
Kohl's.
to JC Penney.
Yeah,
Listen, I don't think I've paid over $120 for a
go
suit.
get them Nikes for $60, man. JC Penney's. And some TJ Maxx. It's all good.
Or you can go get your Nikes from China.
You could do that.
Yeah, you have been an advocate of that. Yeah.
I'm
A
just
while
waiting
ago
for the
when
one.
I was,
I'm waiting for those one lows to come out in China.
Yeah, a while ago when I was spoofing my location, trying to get my hands on a pair of off-whites. PG over here was just like, man, why are you doing all that? Why are you worried about saying you're in Brooklyn? Just go to DH Gate. And I was like, no.
$40. You don't have to worry about getting them dirty. If they get dirty, just go buy another pair for $40.
You're not wrong. You're certainly not wrong. But
The
it's the thrill of the hunt.
Listen,
It's the
if
thrill of
you
the
guys
hunt.
ever see me walking around the stadium or anything with the Jordan 4 OUs, don't try to rob me because they're not real.
Don't try and rob.
That's actually funny.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody advocate for don't rob me because I'm wearing a $40 pair of shoes. So good stuff.
Hey, I mean, the first time for everything.
Right?
Why not do it here? Breaking news. But guys, middle of March, end of March now. That flew by.
Yeah.
Recruiting is about the meat of what we have going. Spring practices have picked off all across the nation. I don't know how it is at OU right now. I've heard little nuggets here and there, but I don't know if y'all have seen Alabama. It's like Fort Knox right now. Nick Saban has that place locked down. I don't even know. Like, I think some pictures came out today, but that's about all anybody's getting. I don't know what's going on there. So all I do know, though, is OU is coming off of a massive weekend in recruiting. I talked about it. I was going to go through a list. And then that list hit over 90 people. And I was like, this wouldn't be a good video. Me just naming 90 people. Like, that's not.
And that's just recruits. That's not even like the families of the recruits. And
or the future freaks and all that. Like, they had just a ton of people.
And you know, one thing before I pass it over to you guys, I did want to say this in case anybody comments this. Jason coming in, we'll let him introduce himself here in a second. But one of the things that I really loved that Oklahoma did I saw that there were 90 plus people coming. And at first I was like, that's incredible. I don't think that has to be your first reaction. My second thought was, how do you do that though? Like with 90 plus people, because I've heard a lot of recruits saying like, oh, we like the visits where it's a bit smaller. And then I don't know whether it was Parker or Brandon, they put something out kind of like breaking down on Twitter, like, oh no, there's going to be a lot of people, but this is structured differently. So like your 24 recruits had more access. So to them, it felt like a smaller recruiting visit, but it was still this mega event. And I thought that was so cool. I thought that was just like the way to do it. And I'm sure other institutions do that, but just getting that vocalization that like, this is how we do this to ensure everybody gets their time, to ensure we're giving 24 guys.
And to the amount of staff and every logistics and all that takes to put it on, like Lee Davis, her crew, and everything that they do as far as on-campus recruiting, all that stuff, hats off to them, because it's a lot to maneuver. And they, from what I heard, did an excellent job. And a lot of people came away from this weekend really happy and really excited about their visit. So yeah, hats off to the staff and everybody that it takes to put in a big event on like that. So yeah.
Well, PG, to your point, and you haven't gotten to go yet, but you made a video talking about the crystal balls that were flying in Oklahoma's favor. I've alluded to some of them, but I think this is a great time for you to walk us through some of those, because some big names being predicted to the Sooners. Now, still long ways to go in this recruiting cycle, but one thing we do know, Brent Venables, Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, the way they evaluate these players, they don't have a whole lot of decommitments. They might have a few. You can give me some names. It's not a lot. The guys that commit to these institutions, they're usually pretty solid. PG, talk to us about the crystal balls, where you're really excited.
I'm really excited about this Jaden Hardy one. It seems like this one's really starting to heat up a little bit.
Yeah.
You're seeing one from an A&M insider. You've seen one from a Tennessee insider. And, of course, OU's guys and Wilt Fong. So that one's pretty good. I think that one's been on a lot of people's radar. Devon Mitchell, the 5-star tight end, I'm still saying he's 2025 because he technically is not classified into 2024. And if he comes into 2024, he might not be a 5-star. We saw that situation with Desmond Ricks last year.
He was a 5-star, though. Desmond Ricks finished as the number 17 player in the nation.
He just wasn't a composite 5-star. He was a 247 5-star.
No, he was a. I think he was a composite 5-star. Yeah, I think he did.
Okay, I might be wrong on that. Then I thought for some reason he came in and he did not translate.
There was someone. I think you're thinking of a corner that did it the year prior who didn't come in as a 5-star, but I think you are 100% right. There was a cornerback that reclassified that was a 5-star that didn't carry over that 5th star. So you're right. It was somebody.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, Devon Mitchell, that's exciting because I think that's going to be a position where there's question marks for Oklahoma going out. I mean, there's questions going into this season, but there's definitely going to be questions going out of this
after
season.
Stogner, no doubt,
going to be leaving, right? So, if you get a guy like Devon Mitchell in there, who I think could be a guy that maybe could play for you year one, maybe not be a starter, but play for you, just because Devon Mitchell's a big dude in the 5-star. Like he's obviously got that kind of talent. So,
he might be able to start year one.
Yeah,
I think he could reclassify and be a 5-star. Man, that guy is a dude through and through. He's a monster. He's so good.
As far as the other 2025 goes, we did one with Kobe Sellers, who that one's currently out right now. That interview, he talked about it. He goes, I love OU, but the recruiting process, it's still too early. Like we're literally just starting 24 process. So, like they have those crystal balls flowing in, and it's hard to get excited for it. Those 2025 guys, because so much can change between now and December of 2025. So, but I'm here for it. This was a great weekend. So far, everybody that I've talked to, and it's been about 4 or 5 recruits, they have all said the same thing. Like they got to spend valuable time with their head recruiter, whether that was Valai, Todd Bates, Ted Roof, or even Brent Venables got the chance to talk to a lot of these recruits. So they got to see the practices. They got to see what that's going to be like and the intensity. So a lot of exciting things out of this week. And I think Oklahoma Sooner fans should definitely be excited about next season, because everything I've heard from the recruits is like, there's no way Oklahoma can't bounce back with the way that they're structuring these practices and how hard they're practicing, which I think we've kind of seen a little bit on the media with some of these videos that are coming out from spring practice.
I've seen some hard-nosed videos. Now, Chris, Jason, before I pass it to y'all, I did want to get to this. F is for Fanatics. Thank you for the $2 donation. He said, glad to see the boys back at it. Guys, if you're in here right now and you don't follow F is for Fanatics, this is a friend of the channel. Jason and him do a lot of content together, as well as High Top Sports. They're kind of in the same wheelhouse as us. And as we continue on, I'd like to feature High Top F is for Fanatics more. That way we kind of have more situations like this. And it's just a giant wheelhouse of your favorite college football content creators all together, hence Around the Table Sports. But thank you very much, guys. Go check out his content. Awesome stuff. Jason, Chris, I'll start with you because you were in here first. Where are you excited coming off of this weekend in terms of recruiting? A lot of crystal balls inserted. PG talked about it. PG kind of tampering expectations, and I do agree for a good bit of that. It's so early. But I think, I kind of go back to what I said. Mm-hmm. Y'all's staff, Bama's staff, Georgia's staff, those staffs and Clemson, they cultivate relationships so thoroughly that where there's smoke, there is certainly fire.
Well, I'll just say this right here. Three things stand out to me. First off, the attention to detail. All the defensive line recruits that you saw there from, each class, 24 and 25, like you're just sitting there saying like they get it. They know what they need to do to get better. And I mean, it's not necessarily just getting all these 5 stars or 4 stars. It's adding quality depth to this team. Like we got to have it. We got to have it. Not only going to the SEC, but just having it going forward. Then the next thing I would say is just when you look at the tea leaves or whatnot, you see a lot of these recruits how they talked about their individualized or their just individual perspective of what their visit was. And you see 10 out of 10s, 9 out of 10s, all types of stuff. Kids talking about, I'm definitely going to give OU an official during the season, different things like that. So you're excited about that. And then just the fact that I think everybody on this panel knows that there are a large number of kids that wanted to commit, but they're telling them not to, at least not at this time right now. So you're pretty excited just about the buzz that you have, the energy that's around this program, because it looks like, hey, look, I get it. I get what happened last year, but we're going to be fine. And you're getting that feeling. And like I said, with these recruits, they'll tell you everything. And I think that it shows that they're still showing up in high volumes because they understand the championship pedigree that these coaches have. And so I think the thing is that last year, I'm not going to say it was a mulligan or it's a red mark or anything like that on their stuff. But at the same time, when you look at, we talked about it on, I think on Jay's show, Drew, I think we talked about that as far as, you see Georgia having the amount of success. You see the success that Bama has sustained. But at the same time, don't forget, I hate to be that guy, but don't forget that these same coaches that we have here at OU had that same level of success at Clemson. Right. And so they come from that championship pedigree from teams other than Clemson as well. So you're just excited about the juice that is coming out of this program, especially in recruiting this early on in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to get to this. Daniel, thank you for the $5. One of the original supporters of the channel. He's been around here. Chris, he might be someone who's been around here longer than you. That's saying something because I always joke about this. Chris and I did my first live stream on YouTube together. We just hopped on here and it's been going ever since. But Jason, man, talk to me. A lot going on for Oklahoma. What are you thinking?
Man, I'm sitting here going through like all the crystal balls and stuff, and it's just wild to even kind of think about it, and particularly on the defensive side of the ball, because you're used to, at Oklahoma, you're used to getting studs on offense, a lot of 5 stars, either quarterbacks or receivers or something like that, but you just don't see all these guys that are defensive linemen, or corners. The Jeremiah Newcomb, you look at that guy's a freaking animal, and he looks like he could play either position. He could play either side of the ball. I think that's the same. You start thinking about Jacoby Johnson Jacoby from last year, this past one, he could probably play defense or offense. Looks like he's probably going to play offense, I guess, but
I think Bama was recruiting him as a DB.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, and that's, and that's the beauty of it, though, is that we know of everything that Oklahoma needed last season, and we've talked about it at length as far as, you know, they 5 wins inside of one score, 4 of them for 3 points. So easily could have went the other way. You know, they could have won 9 or 10 games just by not making a couple of mistakes here and there. Imagine if their defense is anywhere close to what it looks like it's going to be in 2023. I don't think that it's a stretch to say they really should be contending for the conference title on their way out. I mean, they really should be.
Yeah, and I think that the schedule Oklahoma has allows for that. You don't have to play Kansas State.
Absolutely.
And look, Kansas State, they're going to have some talent turnover, but at the same time, they're a well-coached team.
Yeah,
And
I think even if they were playing Kansas State, they should, because just like what Chris was saying, you know, with the pedigree that these coaches have, the guys that they're bringing in, and, you know, you just have to expect that they're going to be better. And there is a lot of turnover throughout the conference. I think that the main competition in the conference is going to be Texas, you know, horns down. But you know, I just feel like it's nice to see Oklahoma recruiting on defense this way, and knowing that what we saw last year isn't going to be a thing that's going to be always going on still. You know, and you don't have to sacrifice offense for defense. I don't know.
No, I'm really interested to see, one, how Oklahoma recruits in 2024, just because they're coming off of the season they had and they still were able to sign the class they did. And Eric down here points out, I think OU is in line for a top 5 class. I think that's very reasonable. They had a top 5 class coming off of the year they had, so thinking that they could have a top 5 class at the very worst. And if I'm being, you know, liberal in my expectation of improvements for Oklahoma, let's just say at the worst, they win 8 games, right? 8 to 9 games. You'd still have to imagine the recruiting is still going to put them at a top 5 class, right? I mean, that's just the math checks out, and you start stacking recruiting classes, you're going to be in a good position. Eric also says Todd Bates, he's an Alabama guy. Yeah, if there was ever a guy from that staff who was looking for a different home, and I've said this when he was a part of Clemson, Bama's just had Freddie Roach, and it's one of those things where you have Freddie Roach. You have arguably, you know, Todd Bates, Larry Johnson, Freddie Roach. These are the guys you're talking about when you're talking about the best defensive line coaches in the nation. So Bama's always been good, but make no mistake about it. You know, Oklahoma has got a dude at the defensive line coach in Todd Bates. And I've often argued people had maybe lofty expectations of missing some of those recruits on the defensive line. And like PG and Drew and Chris and I have talked about, when we look at the recruits that were lost on the defensive line, you lost a battle to Larry Johnson. You lost a battle to Freddie Roach. I mean, right? I mean, you're losing a battle to the best defensive line coaches, and these are coin flips. These are.
Neither one of those guys were like Texas guys or guys that they probably. I mean, the Georgia guy.
We're not losing a battle for a defensive lineman to UCLA. If you lose the battle to UCLA for a blue chip defensive lineman, come find me. We'll have the conversation. If you lose it to Alabama, Georgia, Larry Johnson at Ohio State, you have to acknowledge, as great as Todd Bates is and as great as this institution in Oklahoma is, and it is, they have history and they have great defensive line. So that's why I was always kind of taken aback when people were really upset at Todd Bates. I'm like, guys, the battles he's losing it to the best defensive line coach, like in his stratosphere. It's not like he's losing it to UTSA or UNT.
In that room before. I mean, they weren't even in the room before. You know what I mean? Just the fact that they were in the room it tells you a lot, you know? So.
Top 3. Yeah. Eric, hey, Clemson, I'm interested in, but we have to remember Bates and all them there, you know, that's Dabo's ability to still recruit at a high level, though, was impressive. We have to give him that after losing Venables, after losing Bates, after losing those guys, and they still had a solid recruiting class, which was really impressive. But I do think Oklahoma is going to be able, I think there's a freshness that Brent has with Oklahoma that Dabo doesn't have at Clemson. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, that makes sense. And I think, you know, Clemson's probably the X factor of Oklahoma making it into the top 3, because if they're able to go in there and land Sammy Brown or KJ Bolden, that takes away one of the 2 5-star guys that Clemson's expected to potentially land. So
Yeah, and I mean, you and I talked about this last time, PG. I think Sammy Brown's probably Clemson, Georgia, but and I did acknowledge this though. OU is very much well in this battle, very, very much well in this battle. And when your head coach is a linebackers coach,
that holds a relationship with Sammy Brown as long as he's held it too. I mean, that's a big thing in that relationship.
that's a big thing. That's a very big thing. So no, I think it's awesome. Now, before we move on, I just wanted to give y'all's closing little remarks. I'm super interested in some battles that y'all have going on during the spring, but I'm really interested in the ones that you guys think are the most pressing. So I think we'll just go straight down the line. PG, Drew, Jason, and Chris, if you had to give me one battle, most pressing, you're most interested in, what is it?
Starting linebacker.
Love it. No, I think that's a great answer. Awesome. And I man, that's tough to disagree with. Where are you looking in that battle? Kanik, probably one of the guys. And then...
so Kanik's interesting to me because, last year we heard how he didn't understand the position, wasn't ready. And I'm like, so did he make that big of a leap during the offseason? Danny Stutzman, I think he's obviously got his spot. I don't feel like he's going to lose it unless he just completely falls off of a cliff. Deshaun McCullough, I think, has got one. So I guess it's that spot where Kanik's in there. Does a Kobe McKenzie step up? Does a Kip Lewis step up? Who steps up and potentially takes that spot? I don't know. I'm sure Jaren Kanik's that dude. I'm like, did he really make that big of a jump over the whole offseason?
No, I think that, look, here's where I will agree. And right, I'll give you both sides of the argument. You're right. If someone says, hey, he didn't get the position, he just needs to learn, that's the quarterback of the defense. That's such a cerebral position. The only pushback I will give, this is also a Brent Venables defense. If you were a true freshman, right, and Brent Venables laid down his scheme in front of you, and in 6 months you had completely digested it and were spitting it back out, you'd have first round lock written all over you. So it's kind of in that middle area. Luckily, I do think you pointed out a great problem you have. You have guys outside of Jaren Kanik that are very exciting. Drew, where are you going?
Well, I just wanted to add to the point too, but there's a reason that those guys that you were talking about, PG, didn't see the field at all last year. They were further behind than Jaren Kanik was. Kobe McKenzie still is still behind. Some of those guys, that's why you didn't see them on the field. That's why Brent Venables was at least confident enough to put Jaren on the field, and I think it's his position to lose. But the position that I am looking at the most, and me and Chris have talked about it at nauseum, is the defensive line, and most specifically interior defensive line, because it sets the tone for your defense. If you got guys in the middle that can plug it up, it helps guys like Jaren Kanak and Danny Stutzman go play free and run fast and go hit the gaps. Secondary, it helps them in coverage. If you can get 3 or 4 guys rushing the quarterback and not having to blitz every down and stuff like that, and being able to send a guy late or, disguise some things, makes your life a whole lot easier. So who's going to step up and be that dude in the middle on the defensive line is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I think they talked about moving Jonah Laulu on the inside from an edge, which that's interesting. So, I'm curious how that's going to work out. As far as the linebacker goes, it's like I get what you're saying about, McKenzie and Lewis and Witter and those guys. But, I've said it. I think Samuel Mosigo could come in this summer, go through fall camp, and he could.
Don't forget about Lewis Carter. Don't forget about Lewis Carter as well.
Yeah, I would put Lewis Carter ahead of all those guys. To be honest,
and that's how a lot of people feel, simply because if you just look at his build, he has that. Yeah. But
that guy gets to the football, man.
Well, with Witter, his problem has never been ability; it's been healthy. He's got to stay healthy.
That'd be fast though. Witter, if he can be healthy.
But I do think I'm not gonna lie. I do think that Kip Lewis, especially if he's made rounds in the weight room, Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie. Here's the thing: Kobe McKenzie may have been a bit further behind than Kanik, but the thing about it is he's a solid football player, and he's a solid linebacker, and he's a guy that I feel Brent Venables will trust out there, given the opportunity. Kip Lewis. I think Kip Lewis, out of those two, I want to say not this is outside of Kanik. But I think out of those two, he's the more athletic linebacker. And I think that he's the more, watching him at the spring game and just things that I've seen, it just tape-wise or whatnot, I think that Kobe McKenzie is just a football player. He's a football guy. He eats, sleeps football. Kip Lewis is just a really instinctive type of talent where he just makes plays. He's going to be around the ball in some shape or some form or fashion. But it kind of makes me think about those times where you had, I can't think of all three of them, but with Clint Ingram and all of those, when you had
Rufus and all those guys.
Yeah, Rufus, when you had those guys, that's what Kobe McKenzie, Cannick, you have Kip Lewis, and then now like Lewis Carter. And I think Samuel, like you said, honestly, PG, he may be the most athletic out of all of them, and he may honestly be your 1A to Deshaun McCullough at the Cheetah, to be honest with you. So I think all those other guys are going to be more of Mike or on the other side of the outside with Stutzman, to be honest with you.
I want to throw something in here. Mark, I've seen a few of his comments to the comment. Brent Venables is an unproven head coach and won't be there more than 3 years. Give me Dabo Sweeney was an unproven coach. Give me Bob Stoops was an unproven coach. Give me Lincoln Riley was an unproved coach. I can go on about other guys that have been, so I just wanted to throw that in there for you in case you didn't know who Dabo Sweeney and those guys were. Even Nick Saban starting out, some of those guys. I mean, you get to where you get because of that. You can't say somebody's already, ready to go and win national championships.
Nobody's a proven head coach until they're a proven head coach. For God's sakes, that's the stupidest shit in the world.
Just wanted to throw that in there. Sorry.
Now I got a question because you mentioned the cheetah position, and before we move on off the linebackers, I got a question about that position. So are we counting the cheetah position as the same thing as the linebacker position? Like, because I think when it comes to cheetah, that one's very interesting.
It depends on the play. It depends on the down.
Bowen, McCullough, Reggie Pearson, Justin Harrington. You've heard of all these guys that could potentially play there, and so it's like, you're probably going to have your 1A at that position, but there's so many other guys
with the scheme. With the scheme, it's all depending on what you have out there, situational stuff. I mean, but it's so much. He's got to be so versatile, that position. So I mean,
so your cheetah is essentially your guy who he crosses the bridge between safety and linebacker, right? So like you're constantly matching up your cheetah all over the field, whether you're bringing him down, whether you're putting him in coverage. I forget who we were talking about the other day, but you said, maybe they'd go into cheetah, and maybe they could in some packages, but the way Venables typically uses his cheetah, you want them to have really good coverage ability, right? And one of the reasons why when Kanak first got there, people were wondering, including myself, hey, that guy could be cheetah, is because didn't he clock like a 4.8? I mean, it was something ridiculous, something ridiculous for a linebacker at his size, right? But he's got the coverage ability. He played linebacker and safety in college. That's what you're looking for. So McCullough is interesting because his athleticism is there. He's going to have to learn how to cover. He was only a true freshman, but per his Pro Football Focus coverage grade, he was at like a 31. Which isn't great, but like I said, true freshman in a completely different scheme, that will be better. He's got all the athleticism in the world. So the guys you listed, PG, you could throw some of those guys in at cheetah. No, you're right. You're right on the line of thinking.
And I'll tell you this,
I just wonder how much they're going to use the cheetah in terms of you've got a cheetah defensive end and then a cheetah that's on the secondary. So you have guys like Peyton Bowen and Reggie Pearson that can drop back. And then you have a guy like McCullough who can step up.
Well, I don't think that a cheetah is necessarily a DE. I think that y'all found a guy in McCullough that they were using as an outside linebacker that y'all are transitioning to cheetah.
From a coach's perspective, it's all about your down and distance. It's all about,
I mean, that is,
and in certain situations where, hey, we can put this guy down and you just go pin your ears back and go get the quarterback. Certain situations, we want to drop disguise, things like that. Think about a guy like Isaiah Simmons. I know he's a generational type of dude. A Roy Williams was an early kind of a cheetah type of position, guys that have that ability. But then there's also certain instances where you see like Alabama with what
Branch
Dallas
was
Turner type of situation where he was more of an end just setting the edge. There's certain situations where you'll have that guy in more times than not in certain packages, and then you'll see him go out and then bring in another guy who's more athletic. Different types of situations. So
we use Turner like a jack outside linebacker.
Exactly. See, and that's
as
the
opposed
kind of
to when I think of cheetah, I think of how they use, in my opinion, and I could be wrong here. This is a learning moment for me. I could be wrong here. So this is awesome. I get to ask you. When I think of cheetah, I think of more of a quasi DB than I think of a quasi DE. Am I wrong there?
It's a nickel that can come hammer somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I thought I was okay.
Yep.
No, we're good.
But
we're good.
in certain, it's just all about what you call it. Like it's terminology. It's stuff like from staff to staff. It's like, hey, we run this and we call it that. And we got this guy, and so it all depends on your depth. And then, like I said, down a distance, certain packages. Hey, we want you in. We feel good on and tendencies. What offenses do against you certainly has a lot to do with it as well too. So,
yeah, and it's interesting you say that, right? Because we've talked about this before. It's all different names for things, right? Yep. Like at Bama, they might call it star or money. Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, that's very akin to cheetah, and a lot of the Brent Venables philosophy stems from some of the Nick Saban philosophy. Cover one, for instance, in Brent Venables, it's the same concept as Nick Saban's. He just calls it cover one robber. Like exactly. they just have different terminology,
different tags, different stuff like that. It's all the same stuff at the end of the day.
All the same stuff. Yep. But no, you're right on the line there, PG, in terms of everything like that. Now, Jason, I think we were at you for
okay.
position
battles that you're looking forward to. Or Chris, were we at you?
No, we were at Jason.
Gotcha.
Sweet. Hey, Jay,
right.
sweet hat, by the way.
Hey, thanks, fellas. You can find this in my shop.
Where's that at now? Where's that at now?
This is in my shop on Stream Elements, man. You can jump in there. It's on my. I'll drop it in the. I can't drop it in your comments.
Yeah, and if
I teed it up for you
to go looking for that, what would the address be where they could find that?
I will
particularly piece of clothing.
I will tell you right now. It is the crap. It's a long one. Well, so I dropped it into something else. I'll give it to you in just a second. Give me just a second.
Yeah, no worries.
It is
thecrap.com.
It's BIT.
Don't type that in.
It's bit.ly/ all caps CFB- pod- merch. So you guys can get in there and check that out. It's always you can go to my obviously to the page on CFB- pod on YouTube, and you'll be able to find all that stuff in there as well. So yeah, jump on there, grab all that stuff. I actually just dropped the prices on a lot of that stuff because I hadn't been selling a ton of it. So decided I should just buy a little more of it myself and wear it. So
people, get out there and buy your horns down hats.
Yeah, heck Come on. Everybody wants the horns down hat, right? I think that, and I've just been sitting here kind of writing down some of the, I think that the secondary, this is another example of we've gone from being kind of light in the secondary, not knowing what you're going to get out of these guys to now you don't know what you're getting, but it's who's going to be the guy that steps up, who's going to be, who's going to make it hard as a freshman, that's going to make it hard for you to keep him off the field. And I start thinking about guys like my first one would be like Makari Vickers. This guy is unfreaking real. He can cover and cut off a half of the field. I got to go see him at the All-American Bowl in San Antonio. This guy just absolutely nobody threw at him. And in fact, he almost got an interception on a ball that was thrown into the middle of the field that he jumped off of his guy. And he missed it by about a foot. Then you've got, look at it. You've Billy Bowman. Did you guys see that with him and Stoops yesterday?
Yeah, Stoops put him on his back. Yeah,
nice little scrap. I love scrappiness like that, though, dude. I love seeing that stuff. And then, obviously he looked pretty good in the bowl game. So you're expecting to see a little more of him. I think injuries was a big problem for him more than anything. But when you start looking at it, I've heard a lot of stuff about Josiah Wagner's looking good. You still have Woody Washington coming back. Kendall Dobie is supposed to be a straight up man. I don't know how. I mean, there's not enough positions for all these
Hey,
guys that we
don't
think we have.
Don't forget my 918 guys: Robert Spears, Jennings,
I was
Gentry
just about to
Williams, all
say
that guy.
Gentry, and I was going to ask you about Gentry also. I'd heard been in the hospital. He's good to go now, I'm guessing.
Well,
or-
he's on the road. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
still getting all that stuff. But all indications is that he should be ready to go. But obviously, you're not wanting to take any chances with that and making sure he's absolutely ready to go. But all signs are pointing to a good thumbs up there for him. So
that's great. And then of course, we want to say, prayers are out for Peyton Bowen and his family as well. After losing his sister like that, that's just unreal.
Yeah,
But
I saw that
but
right before we got on stream.
But you have to expect that this guy is going to step up and become something. I mean, this dude, if you watched him play at Geyer last year, there's nothing that he couldn't get to, and he would hit you. So,
and in the return game too.
And yes, absolutely, I can't wait to watch him return punts. I mean,
almost every other class, he's the number one safety. It's just that this last year's safety group, we've talked about this, that they were ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
Makari Vickers, not a 5-star. Tony Mitchell, not a 5-star.
Oh,
these guys, Caleb Downs and Bowen, these dudes are so gifted.
Yeah.
So it is actually insane how much depth there was at safety in 2023. It was bonkers.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and you're building that depth that we're talking about. You're putting guys, stacking quality depth, getting those reps, getting that competitiveness in practice, and
iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely.
So that's where I'm looking at. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, it's good that they have these extra positions. You're going to have nickel packages and things like that because I don't think that you want to have any of these guys that don't get time in the game. I mean, in games, I can't even imagine it, but I'm excited to watch it and see kind of how it plays out. Again, I would just say, freaking hallelujah, they got a defense. It's awesome.
Hey, I'll tell you one guy we forgot, and Reggie Pearson.
Oh, dude, yes. Yeah. I'm like I said, I'm sitting here writing down names, and there's all over it, but it's just
crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
go
ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to jump in. I mean, secondary is where I was going to go as well. And I'm just going to narrow the focus. Keith Lawrence.
Yeah, no, big year.
I just wrote it down too.
I'll say it I'll say it here. I'll say it there. I'll say it on every mountaintop. If Keith Lawrence does what he needs to do, Keith Lawrence has the size and the potential to be a first round. He has all the intangibles.
He likes to hit too, doesn't he?
He has all the intangibles to be a steal for somebody in this upcoming in the next NFL draft. But the thing about it is that, man, look, Robert Spears Jennings, he looked good out there at that other safety position. Kendall Dolby is going to be a guy that can play all over, and then obviously Bowen, people are going to be screaming for Bowen to get snaps and be able to play. So I mean, it's one of those things that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on his position this not only this spring, but this summer going into fall camp as well, because he's a guy that could probably get pushed out of the position if he's not having the production that follows that we all expect him to have. I think Keith Lawrence, and last year he was extremely inconsistent, but the games that he was good, he's great in run support. I'll give him that. He's great in run support. His coverage skills are getting better. One thing, when my uncle and I, we would talk about him an awful lot, I would say, hey, look, put him back at corner. He looked great at corner whenever he was there about 2 seasons ago, in my opinion. He looked great at corner, but at the same time, you got to put your best players out there. I think he's going to be great at safety. I think he has a chance, but this year he just has to put everything together.
I was going to say, Hank made a great point.
Yeah.
The ability is not the question. It's the consistency and staying healthy.
Best ability is availability.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate because, I mean, that's nothing that these guys – I mean, you could do everything by the book, everything. I mean, above and beyond. And it's just – it doesn't work out, right? And that's unfortunate. But I do agree, Chris, and you and I have talked about Key Lawrence several times.
Uh-huh.
That guy's upside is wild.
It could be it could be a difference maker.
What is he, 6'2"?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, come on now.
Regardless, I think that somebody's going to take a chance on the kid, but I think that
They
this
will.
year here, it's all about draft stock for him. You know, the success of this team will definitely help his draft stock, because that means that he's doing something right and he's on the field an awful lot, to be honest with you. I think that he's a guy who could be a game changer and be an X factor. I think Billy Bowman has pretty much solidified in everybody's mind that he is.
Keep him at safety.
He's that guy, yeah, and leave him alone and let him be. But at the same time, when you got guys like Bowens, Vickers, and these guys are just so versatile. I mean, Valai is not wanting to call them strong safeties, free safeties, cornerbacks, anything. He wants defensive backs, guys that are ready to go and mix it up if they have to be physical, to tackle, to do all those things. So that's what you're excited about, man. It's so much talent in that secondary. It's crazy to think that the secondary is going to be the strength of our team this at least to start the season, opposed to what we've seen these past 3, 4, 5 seasons from OU, how our secondary just has not been up to par, So the talent that's in the room and the depth that you really think that you believe that you have is pretty amazing to see. But that's what I would say. It'd be the secondary and specifically Key Lawrence position. Kind of how does that go? What's the ebb and flow during the season?
Yeah, for sure. Now, Fatty asked if I'm he asked a while ago if I'm going to bring on any Alabama guests. And I'm talking to someone right now, Fatty. We're just trying to get the times worked out. I've had a lot going on outside of.
You don't like us Sooners, Fatty?
But I'll be having some.
Are you going to bring on any Auburn guys?
Oh,
Sure,
here we go.
Absolutely. I'm good with anybody coming on here. Because I'd genuinely be curious to gauge the temperature of an Auburn fan, and an Auburn person right now.
I'd like to talk about that too. Yeah, I'm kind of interested in what's going on with you.
I know what Chris is doing. He just
of course. Spoon. Where's the sign at? Where's the sign at, Chris?
Oh, don't get him. Don't.
Oh, he can bring the sign out. That's okay.
Look. Man. Okay, I you know what? That's a great segue into this, right?
Yes, here we go. I'm gonna sit back.
I told Drew a while ago on Jay's podcast that I need to apologize to somebody on here. Okay. And that person is Ty Hayes.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Here we go.
Ty, look, I'm sorry.
Oh,
look,
boy.
The sign, I think I'm going to retire it, bro.
All right.
I was talking to my uncle. He said, hey, man, look, going that tie doesn't prove anything. It doesn't make you look tough or any of that. So if you don't have anything nice to say, he said, why don't you just wear it? So I thought about, Auburn by 40, right? And also on the back.
Oh my God.
I saw Ty Cry in 2013. Remember the kick 6. Trust me. So Ty, I was thinking about you and I said, man, you know what? I'm just going to wear the shirt now and just have it on every show. That way it'll be a constant reminder.
I'm hard to forget. I have that effect on people.
And I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to stop showing the flag and I'm going to do that. And so when Auburn does win this year,
awesome.
They're
not going to win, but
I'm going to send this shirt to you and I want you to wear it on live. Okay. So that's my piece.
I'll burn it on live.
Oh,
nice.
But yeah, no, that's not kidding. That was a great one. Good times. But talking about some Bama position battles, because there are going to be a lot of new faces and a lot of talent on this team. What position battles are y'all most interested in for Alabama?
Quarterback.
That's fair. Yeah. Drew?
Probably the offensive side with quarterback, the backfield in general. With the running backs and all that stuff, because it's a lot like OU's room. A lot of young talent. Just who's gonna step up. So yeah,
they still have McCullen, don't they? Did I say that right? Jason
McClellan?
Yeah.
McClellan.
Yeah, they still have McClellan.
Yeah, McClellan.
Yeah. He They got 2 5-star backs in the previous class, Young and Justice Haynes.
A lot
Richard
of
Young.
talent. A lot of talent.
Yeah, the running back room is good. Offensive line is where I'm really looking at, and even that I think should be very good. I hope
What
at
about your
least.
defensive line, because I know you guys got James Smith and Quay Russo.
Yeah, that's just
Defensive line.
just plug and play.
I guess my only question about Bama is defensively is Dallas Turner. Can he be that guy? Can he live up to the hype? And can he be better? Are we expecting him to be better than Will Anderson, or are we expecting him to at least be on the same level?
I mean, I don't even know that he has to be on the same level. We talk about Will Anderson and what he did on the same level as Jadeveon Clowney and Von Miller in terms of SEC acumen. I mean, you look at his numbers, and they're right up there with both of those guys. Right up there with both of those guys. He had, 18 sacks in 1 year? That was wild. He's had the most pressures in college football 3 years in a row.
Man.
Or no, I'm sorry, 2 years in a row. He was second this year, and he was off by 2 pressures from the number one. So yeah, that I don't think he has to live up to Will Anderson's height, because I think that the interior of the defensive line could be better. Who I thought was the best interior defensive lineman got hurt with a neck injury like week 3, Justin Aboigbe. Now he's coming back. Jaheim Otis is coming back, and I really hope James Smith is that guy.
So obviously we know what was it tied to it wasn't a 2-4-5, 1-4-6, whatever defense.
That's not coming back, please God. Please God, no.
Obviously with Steele being there, you guys is in there's a little bit of my ignorance right now. Remind me. Steele is a traditional, he's a 4-3 guy, right? Or is he?
Who is this?
I'm talking about
sorry, I
Kevin
started
Steele.
looking.
Kevin Steele.
Yeah, he's much more 3-4-4-3,
Yeah,
right? He'll interchange them
multiple,
depending on what he wants to do. Now I've talked to all of you about this. I'm not over the moon about the Kevin Steele hire. This is the reason, though, where I'm just like, it makes sense. He's worked with Saban before, and he was a bridge defensive coordinator for Kirby Smart the first time around. And it feels like he's going to be a bridge for another guy whenever that guy becomes available.
Whenever the NCAA gets off their ass and, does their job.
The worst.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Well, it's me and Ty have talked about it for. It's just. I don't know.
Are you going? Are you excited about that as far as kind of getting back to that style of defense?
I am. Look,
I wouldn't even say it's more of a traditional look, but I would just say that you're not going to have. You want guys like Will Anderson, in this season, like Dallas Turner, to play all over the defensive line, but at the same time, you want to keep them at their natural position as much as possible and put them in positions that you think obviously they would be successful. But it's a different, because like I think we talked about in the past, Pete Golding is a guy that obviously I think he just fell in love with being so exotic with his looks, giving you something so totally different to look at. Obviously, we know, like you talk about with Venables will give you cover 3, run this, run something different or whatnot, pre-snap. Everybody does that, but literally, he is the epitome of that. Golden comes out there with some exotic looks. You're just like, what the hell is going on? And he's trying to line Will Anderson up as the nose tackle, as edge, as linebacker here, and this and that. You're just like, man, it's like he's taking Will Anderson out of the play because they're just sending guys at him the entire time.
Well,
but
it gives the offense more chance to double guys when you're isolating one guy in the middle of the formation. It makes it so much easier to double team a guy like that, and you're like, oh, that makes life easy. Yeah.
But like I told you, Ty, in the past, I just think that the change of philosophy is what's needed, because and like I said, the on the SEC Connect, hey, look, I think that last year on the defensive side of the ball, sometimes it felt like it was an inflated sense of confidence. And don't get me wrong, you guys.
No, I agree. I 100% agree.
But I think the Texas game really showed that how bad it was, because it was like, damn, are you guys going to take Jackson off of Worthy, or are we just going to watch this the entire game of him getting burnt, you know? And it was like, oh, we're that much better than you. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yep.
Jalen Hyatt running all over because they were doing that stack formation into crossers. We could not get it off. They were passing onto the safety or the nickel on the crosser after the stack motion, and we didn't change anything until the second half later into it. Now, granted, Hyatt still got his. Even when we changed things, he was still good. But, Chris, you hit the nail on the head. Do you want my honest opinion?
Yeah.
The defense needs to be simplified a little bit.
Yeah.
Offenses are getting simpler in the sense that they're going quick. Hey, this is your decision, go. Saban's defenses are complex. It's the same reason, and we've talked about this. Everybody on this panel, it's the same reason that when you see a Saban defense get scored on, how many times is it a receiver just streaking open down the field? And you're like, well, where did that guy come from? Why is it a busted coverage? You can think of a lot of those as compared to these long sustained drives. And it's for the same reason you'll see with Brent Venables busted coverages. It's not because, oh, well, your defense is bad. It's because the defense is so complex. It's so succinct. There are so many moving pieces. If one person is a step off, everything falls apart. Yeah. Right. And I saw times where Oklahoma maybe had a bust in the secondary, and y'all didn't have many of them. But it's just going to prove the point. If you ever see one as a fan, know, hey, our defense is really complex. Like that can happen when you run these complex defenses, but Bama's needs to be simplified.
And you and Jance were saying that almost a year ago.
Yeah, we've been saying this for a while.
Yeah, you and Jance definitely said that because that was.
I love that point too.
I think coming off of the loss to Texas A&M, that's what Jance was really peed off about. He was just like, I mean. He's like, I know we have talent, but our players can't run this stuff because they're asked to do 30 different things. And you're just like, hey, just let them go. We have the better players. We can stop them. They're running simple stuff, but
that's why Kevin
to our guns and won't change. Go ahead.
I'm sorry,
no, you good. You good.
That was rude, but it came to me. That's why Kevin Steele and Pruitt to me is interesting because they've worked with Saban. I think they're guys who could be like, hey, Nick, we need to peel this back.
They have the liberty of saying, hey, I can do this job. Let me just go put the guys in there that they can give us the most success. And I think that Nick Saban is more inclined to do that than opposed to curly-headed little girly and Pete Golding. So,
Sooner Cowboys. No way was I saying Oklahoma's not going to go 6-7, and I don't think they're going to get blown out again. We were all just messing with each other and giving each other a hard time. Everybody on the panel fully.
I actually think it's 7-6 Sooner Cowboys. So.
Right? Yeah.
Come on. and 49 to we'll get a touchdown this year. So
no. OU's going to be.
Don't even joke about that shit.
Sometimes you have to, man.
Kim, I did want to get this. She says, with all the coaching changes, is there a chance of needing a year to acclimate? It's certainly possible, Kim. And it's not, for me, it's not so much the coaching changes as it is some of the position changes. Because I've seen Coach Saban go from this offensive coordinator to this offensive coordinator and just tumbleweed down whole staffs, and it doesn't matter. Yeah. They're losing a Bryce Young. That's a generational quarterback talent, in my opinion, and I've said this forever. That's not easy. I love Milroe. I love Ty Simpson. Bryce did a lot for that offense. It's going to be a fun year for Alabama because there's a lot of possibilities. It's awesome.
Now, and I know we've been on here for an hour or so, but I think this is something that we can address. So there's a certain Texas fan, and I'm not going to name any names. And I'm not taking any slights at Texas because I don't know if they all claim him again or or whatnot. But this Texas fan said that, and Ty, you saw the tweet. This Texas fan said, hey, if Alabama were any other team coming into this season losing the quarterback and their star defensive lineman and having the coaching changes and some of the and other turnover on both sides of the ball, they would probably be ranked in the preseason around 20 or so in the low 20s. And and I said, hey, look, I get what you're saying, but it's Bama, baby. Come on now. They've been doing this for the longest. Come on.
And here's what I'll say, because I think people saw that, and obviously there's a reaction to it. Look, I don't agree with the tweet, but there is a glimmer of logic within the tweet where I'm like, no, he's on to something here, right? Like, I think there are legitimate questions and discussions we can have about Alabama, and I am absolutely here for all of them. But if he's asking me, why isn't Alabama ranked here, where if I thought that Arizona State would be, it's because Bama has done this before multiple times, right? It's because Bama isn't another team. And it's because they recruit well. Here's what I'll say, and this is Texas opens up as a top 25 team in the nation when they go 8 and whatever. Yeah, so right. Bama losing 2 games, opening up wherever. Why does Texas open up there? It's because they recruit really well. You know, no matter how Texas is going to be, there could be talented. And especially these Sark teams. Y'all know I do like these Sark teams, I've argued. But I think there is something to Seti's tweet, but I do disagree with it in terms of, like, it's not just a regular team. Bama's done this before. And so you kind of do have to be like, well, if we've seen the sun rise 12 times, it's reasonable to assume that at the very least the sun will rise on the 13th day. Not that it will be sunny, but that the sun will rise. I don't know if that made sense, but
no, it does. It does make sense, especially if you if you start thinking about some of the championship teams or teams that competed for championships. That, I mean, coming into Jalen Hurts, his freshman year wasn't really sure about the quarterback room there. Who is that? Blake Bornstall, however you say his name. Yeah, I mean, there's
Blake Barnett.
Yeah, there's a few Alabama teams that you can say, hey, look, I had the same worries about them, and they still made the playoffs. There's not even a handful of teams. You could count on one hand how many Alabama teams have failed, honestly, to make a playoff or make a BCS national championship game. Look, and you just had these same thoughts about them, like. You can on one hand you can count because it's not that many. So I just lean to the point where I'm saying, like, look, I'm 99.9% sure that Alabama's going to be great again.
Well, I think very realistically, and I think I said this to all of you, Bama could have the same result this next year. Narrowly missed the playoffs, 2 losses. And I think if you looked at that after losing what you did, this is going to be a young Bama team now in a lot of aspects. I think that'd be like, hey, we want to get to the playoffs. Obviously, that's the goal. But look, that's a realistic conversation to have. Mm-hmm. So, no, I don't think that his tweet was like as sideways as I think a lot of people did. But I just thought it was a very easy response. Well, they're not ranked that because history has proven otherwise. Like, they've just done it. But no, there's glimmer of logic within that, no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And Sooner Cowboys asked, is Georgia going to three-peat? Motivated, dedicated. He's a Georgia fan. He says yes, end of story. They could. Nope. Very talented. Drew doesn't think so.
They will not.
Tough to do as well. I mean, it's tough enough to win back-to-back. That's unbelievably impressive.
Hey, if they do, I'll be the first person to say, hey.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
But it's even to go 2, it's hard. But 3, that's why you've seen teams like USC and as talented as they were and stuff like that. It's so hard, especially when you don't have a veteran quarterback coming back. Now, I'm not saying that one of those young guys can go out and just, carve the moon, but it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough to win.
But with that easy schedule, certainly has a
they do
for Georgia, y'all. Their schedule is nothing.
Easy. Yeah, we had a Georgia fan. Kirby was in here the other day, and he was even like, "Yeah, this is we do have a nice path."
I have a hot take.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, yeah. Sizzle.
Obviously, we know Ohio State. We know what they did against Georgia or whatnot. A lot of people say they should have been in the national championship game, this and that. coming into the college football playoffs last year, I said it and I'll say it now. I still believe that Michigan was the team to give Georgia trouble.
Michigan's going to be a good team this year.
But Michigan, and I know they got beat by TCU and TCU got destroyed by Georgia, but here's why I say that. Michigan killed themselves in that TCU game because the overinflated sense of confidence that we just talked about with kind of Bama at times last year, Ty. Same thing you can say for Michigan going into that TCU game. They would not do what they needed to do, which was punish them on the ground. And I don't know what it was that they came out there with this magical game plan for McCarthy to be the hero of that game, but it should have never been that. And so you were the more, in my opinion, all year you have been the more physical team out of those two, and you chose to go the other way. You thought that you could get cute on the goal line, different things like that, and play around with TCU, and they said, no, you're not going to.
Well, they also had two turnovers in the red zone that you absolutely can't have, especially right on the goal line. Like that's just, yeah. So with Michigan, they had to play absolutely perfect football to win. So,
and I do like the talent Michigan brings back, though.
Sure.
They bring back a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I just thought that in the playoffs, obviously, people are gonna say, "Oh, you're just hating on TCU because of what TCU did." Yeah, I am a little bit, but I'm gonna.
No, you're not hating. You're fact is a fact.
I'm gonna lean fact, and they're
I'm just
hang
gonna
over
say,
from
look,
that shit too, man.
I
think they're trash.
Yeah, I think Ohio State and Michigan matched up better with Bama, and I think Michigan would have had had a real good game plan simply because of Harbaugh. I think Harbaugh would have got in there and he would have figured something out, and he would have made them really work the field that night. I feel like. Well, I don't think he necessarily has the talent or the speed, but I think that he would have been able to make them work.
Hey, and here's another hot take, and people may not like it, but it's football at the end of the day, so I'll preface by that. But Georgia got lucky to win that game against Ohio State. And they had a few things turn their way, which is football. Ohio State had their foot on their throat and let them up. Basically.
Here's what I would say about that, though: if that's not in the carpet, in the dome, then I don't think it's close.
Sure,
but it was the perfect setup for Ohio State to get it done, and again, they did.
And they didn't. So credit to Georgia. Right. That's why but they absolutely did. I mean.
And you knew that
Ohio
Georgia
State
wasn't going to play a bad game twice in a row, so that wasn't going to go down.
Yeah. But and kudos, that's football. I'm a coach, and I understand that. Yeah, you have to, when you have the pedal down, you got to keep going, you got to keep moving, and you can't turn the ball over. You can't have 3 and out stuff like that. And credit to Georgia, and they finished the game, and they're a veteran club, and they understood, But Ohio State had their opportunity and let them up.
They did, no doubt about it.
I don't know that Michigan would have been a good match for Georgia, and the only reason is the balance Georgia's offense had. Yeah. I think was a real. We talk a lot about Georgia's defense, and deservedly so. It is an unbelievable defense. It has got so many guys that will be playing on Sundays on it. Right. But one of the things when I looked at Georgia that really separated them from a lot of the teams was the balance they had on offense. You want to take out the running game? Cool. Go for it. Please be my guest. We have wide receivers and tight ends
in the country.
And we can use our tight ends as an extension of the running game in order to open up the running game. So the running game is never out of the equation.
Yeah.
I'm going to be very honest. And Chris, I do think I told you this early in to the year that I didn't know that anybody would be able to beat Georgia. Yeah. Alabama was struggling. I said Bama might make playoffs. We ended up not, so I was wrong there. But I didn't know anybody would be able. Ohio State played them much better than I thought.
And I was going to say, I would have loved to have seen Ohio State at full health and full strength all year long to see what they would have been truly made of. So. But that's football.
About Ohio State is that they have the type of game plan that was the only one that kind of piggybacking off what you said. That was the only way you might have a chance at beating Georgia is to go in there and air it out and just try to get as much points as you can. Not screw around with it.
Here's the thing. I'll say
Michigan would have went and tried to run you over, and that's not going to work.
Now, That's a good point. But here's the thing about that Ohio State game that was really interesting to me, and this is what I was always bullish on CJ Stroud coming there. I just like his story.
I love CJ Stroud.
Like I really liked his story, and
I think he's the best quarterback in this class. Okay,
now I'm just gonna say this right here about CJ. I'm gonna go Anthony Richardson, but that's gonna piss Ty off. But anyways, no, with CJ Stroud, you know, I look, I've always been bullish on him, but I don't even know if it was necessarily game plan. I know they wanted to come in and air the ball out, but man, he made some plays in that game. And I'm going to point out to this right here. It's not just the plays he made passing the ball down the field. It's the way that he was able to move the pocket and keep plays alive. That was probably the most mobile I've ever seen him. It wasn't like
the most mobile game he's ever played.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was scrambling for his life, but he made smart decisions, quick decisions when he had to, and he kept plays alive because he kept moving the pocket and making it hard for those Georgia defensive linemen that we all know are freaks.
What you got to do.
Yeah, he made it hard for them to get to him. He kept a lot of plays alive, and that last split second that you thought he was about to get sacked, there he is throwing it down the field for a 20, 25, 30-yard gain, and you're just like, damn, he did everything he possibly could.
And that's why I say that I feel like that was the reason that they were going to have the only chance of really beating Georgia was because they were going to try to go ahead and air it out and not try to do. I mean, you know Harbaugh, he was going to give it to the running back and see if he could out slobber knock him. Yeah. That's what he was going to do, and try to short the clock. And there's no damn way that you're going to do that. There's no way that you're going to do that against that defense. And then, of course, they play that way. So I don't see – to me, the only way that you had a chance was that you had those receivers, that the only place you had them anywhere was maybe at receiver because Georgia was loaded at receiver too. But when you've got, 4 guys that are all, first-round quality wide receiver – I mean, it's easily the best receiver room in the country there, right?
I would put it as number one. I would.
So you, instead of trying to run the football, of course they were going to, and you get their speed in there on the carpet, they got a chance. I don't see Harbaugh. I think that he loves to play smash mouth football, and he would have tried to see what they could do against Georgia, and it would have got him hurt. And so that's just my
I just don't think you're going to out smash mouth an Alabama or a Kirby.
That's true. It's just Harbaugh is so unpredictable. And
I'll give you that. Look at what he did against Ohio State. I mean,
he has an unpredictable NFL mind, and I just don't know. You can't ever trust anything that he's going to do.
100% fair. 100% fair. I wish I could be like, oh, I think that they could do this. And maybe I'm too bullish and maybe too narrow-minded on the fact that it's just like, it's Kirby. You're not gonna go into an Oklahoma drill against, Georgia and Kirby Smart and come out victorious. Like, that's just not the game plan for them. But that's why I thought that
I'm not saying
Ohio
that he's not a great coach, because he is. But I mean, and you would think that maybe he would adjust. But if you try to go out there and match up with him, just running the ball, I just don't see how you could do it. I agree.
Yeah.
Georgia's got dogs everywhere on that defense.
Yeah, man.
Everywhere. And on offense. But we're Kirby defensive guy. That's where I'm going to turn to first. Just dogs everywhere. And motivated. Says UGA lost 4 starters on defense. Some key starters. Keely Ringo.
Man.
You lost your defensive lineman, but I don't necessarily worry about your defensive lineman. And I know that's a crazy statement to say whenever both of them are going top 5. But it's just like Alabama. Whenever Bama had a defensive lineman go in the top 5, you couldn't be like, that's something we have to worry about. You just pointed to everything they'd always. So I'm not really worried about the replacing of the defensive line. Very interested to see how y'all replace Ringo. And that's not to say it can't be replaced motivated. That's just, he's a great player. I'm always interested in how great players are replaced. I say the same thing about Bryce, Will Anderson, Bama's safeties. Same thing. But no, really impressive. And I do agree. I'm not going to go up and find it motivated because I'm lazy. Unlike you, I'm not motivated and dedicated to finding the comment. But you had commented earlier that you're excited for Carson Beck. I'm excited to see what Carson Beck's going to do, man. I am. I know. I've talked to some Georgia fans that are very excited, and it's kind of. I'm an easy person to please, right? I'm an easy person to get fired up about college football.
What about Gunner?
I don't know. I think, honestly, you want to know my opinion on this? As talented as they are, I think right now Georgia offensively is at the stage where they're like, hey, we're so loaded everywhere. We just need someone to run our system very efficiently. Mm-hmm. So the guy, now I don't think they would always go for experience over talent, but I think currently as we're sitting here, they would go for experience over the guy who's just like, that's, maybe otherworldly, but he really is green, wet behind the ears. He's got a long ways to go because they know, hey, if we get it to Carson Beck, he knows the system, we're going to be good.
And
go ahead.
Here's something that's going to be interesting is this time around, Mike Bobo running that offense is going to be interesting to see, if he changes anything up or if there's some new stuff that he plugs in. So that's going to be something that I looked, obviously as an offensive coach, I always look at guys like that, but be interesting to see how he uses this type of talent and those young quarterbacks in that room. And obviously the running back's very talented. And then, you've got great skill guys. So it'll be interesting to see this time around what Mike Bobo does.
Yeah, and then you just look around the SEC, and this isn't unique to the SEC. There's quarterback battles everywhere, and we'll get out of here after this. But the SEC has got some really fun quarterback battles. I think it's safe to assume Carson Beck is the guy at Georgia. But for the sake of this fun and the fun of this conversation, we'll consider Georgia a quarterback battle. I personally don't think there's any battle going on at Tennessee. He's going to be that guy. Got a cannon of an arm. It's wild to me that they had Hendon Hooker, and when they needed a Hail Mary, they took out Hendon Hooker to put in their second-string quarterback because that guy can hit the International Space Station flat-footed. That guy has got a rocket, cannon.
Yep. Yeah, he does.
I'm genuinely assured that he could throw 100 yards if he needed to. Wild. Bama's got an awesome quarterback battle on deck.
I love it. That's
SBC
great.
Bates says obligatory super chat. Don't spend it all in one place unless it's on a new suit for Chris. Hey, we'll put this $5 towards the Chris suit donation.
Best comment of the night.
That was awesome.
That was great.
Yes.
But before we get out of here, guys, I think the last question I'll ask all of you, and then just take it down the line. Drew, Jason, Chris, which quarterback battle? And it doesn't have to be in the SEC, but if it is, let me know. What quarterback battle are you most interested in?
I'm going with the easy choice and stealing it from everybody. Ole Miss is intriguing.
That's a great answer.
Because you've got Jackson Dart, all that stuff, and then you got the old man Spencer Sanders and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see with Lane, you never know what he could pop a third guy out that you're like, who the heck is this dude? So it's one of those things that Ole Miss, anything they do is always intriguing to me. So I'm going to go with the Rebels.
I actually, for whatever reason, that had completely escaped my mind, but that might be the answer if we're talking about SEC. I love that answer. That's a great one. Jason, what are you thinking, man?
I think this Tennessee one. Obviously we were talking about the cannon, but I tell you, they had one of the top quarterbacks coming in too, and Nico. So yeah, yep. and Nico, I like to see what Josh is going to do next and how you're going to turn it from what you had last year. So we'll see.
Man, Chris, they're just pouring it on, man.
I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. When you sharp like
is that Unk? Is that the Unk?
That's the Unk. If you're not doing, if they're not hating, you ain't doing something right. All right.
If they're not hating, hey, so I should feel real good that you made me a shirt, then, huh?
Yeah.
Ty is different. Anyway, no, hey, look, I would say, obviously, I think they just said LSU. Hank said that's a great.
Oh, that's a great answer.
But here is mine. This is an oddball, and this is kind of off the radar. But Florida, what the hell are they doing?
Ooh,
that's a great answer.
Because I was Jack Miller. It's not it. I don't know.
They got Graham Mertz.
That'd be Lagway, right?
He's 24.
Lagway is coming in 24, right?
I'm sorry, he's 24. I'm all the
And
way.
he may
off.
just
What are they
skip.
talking about? Oh,
He may just skip. He may just skip football and just go straight over to the baseball team. He may just say, "The hell with y'all." I'm gonna
He
go
is
play
an
baseball.
elite baseball player, isn't he?
I'm
Yeah,
talking
that's right.
about elite.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Graham Mertz is I don't know. I just was like, man, I don't know what you're doing down there.
I got another one that I just and out of the SEC, but Wisconsin.
Oh, good.
Oh yeah,
Good
yeah.
one.
Evers and got Tanner Mordecai.
Did it hurt when y'all saw that clip of him throwing that strike in practice?
I get them sent to me a lot, so.
And I'm not trying to like be facetious when I ask.
No,
I
no,
only ask because I've talked to all of you. I thought Evers should have been QB2.
With
Dude,
me,
I'm telling you, Evers had a monster arm.
With me, I'm always going to root for him because I'm close to his parents and stuff like that and all that, and I love him. So whatever he does, dude, it's all hand claps and go get it, man. So
awesome.
Love seeing what he's doing. Love him getting an opportunity to showcase his talent. So all good there. But yeah, it stings a little bit for sure.
Man, that kid is so talented. I am rooting for him though.
Yep.
I'm rooting for all those kids that get a better opportunity, and not to say that you were hampered, right? It's just like at Alabama. There's a depth chart.
Yeah, there's certain situations, stuff like that you just, I mean,
it is what it is.
You're behind the 8 ball for whatever reason, and you and that's the beauty of the NIL, the transfer portal, all that stuff. Yeah. So hey, go get yours. I'm never gonna.
Sometimes a change of scenery is all that's needed.
And listen, and the good news is for him is that he went to a great place. I mean, they got a good coordinator, they've got a good head coach.
Luke Fickell,
that's a great 2.0. That's the goal.
What did you say?
I said Desmond Ritter 2.0. That's the goal for him.
I love it.
I think that he's in a good situation all the way around. I really do. And like you said, Drew, I mean, his family's amazing. Yep. He's an amazing kid. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does up there.
He's
finally doing. I mean, you got another team that's going to not just freaking run the triple option in the freaking Big Ten. So good for that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Spread it out. Another spread team. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go with the homer pick and pick Alabama. One, because it's the homer pick, but two, I do feel like there is some reasonings there. I think if Alabama gets the quarterback position good, they feel a lot better about their season outlook as opposed to, I think that goes for any team. That was kind of a nothing statement, but I think in particular for Alabama this year after coming off of Bryce Young.
Yeah, and on the flip side too, what about Texas? And they're in a similar situation that if Ewers struggles, they're going to chamber for the young kid, and so that'll be interesting to see.
Under on the games until they start calling for Quinn's head.
We'll give that one to Chris. I'd love to hear it.
Oh, hey, look, we'll talk about that on another time. I'm not going to.
I think that Quinn's the guy, but I think that we know how they are there. If they struggle at all against Alabama,
one thing you better not do, you better not bring him in the game against Alabama at Tuscaloosa.
It's a circus. I mean, they've invited a circus to Austin.
It's part of their production.
I don't think that Sark wanted it to be I mean, you always say it's an open competition, but my thought is it really, or is it that's the booster saying it's an open competition, Sark?
And if I may, one thing, the Mannings, they had been pretty forthright because whenever they were, going through the process, it was, I think the final three for the most part was Texas, Georgia, Bama. And everybody was like, well, what if you have to sit anywhere? And the Mannings came out and they were like, oh, we're good with sitting a year. We actually don't mind that to learn the system. We're completely good with that. But I do hear y'all right now aren't talking about the Mannings. You're talking about the fans. Clamoring for it. Yeah, no. So it's a different.
It's one thing in the building, but you never know with the fans. And we saw it firsthand as OU fans a couple years ago. So,
100%.
And it could very well rear its ugly head again for Sooner fans this year.
Sooner fans, I was about to say, great take. It's the same.
I hope not.
There's a lot of people that don't want to see Dylan Gabriel play.
Fans will be fans,
Well, boys, we're gonna get out of here. Because Chris and I know, Jason, you're going live at 7:30. Guys, go check that out. I think you dropped the plug. Drop it one more time.
I did. I'll put it in there.
Texas all day long. Yeah, Corey, Texas is going to be a really fun team. We'll talk about Texas more on Friday because I am excited for the Longhorns. I'll try and get one of the Longhorn guys on here, show some love and talk to us about it. But until then, y'all know the drill. Go down the line, tell everybody where they can find all your great content. Drew, I'll start with you.
Guys, the Under Official Review podcast, host that with me and my buddy Zach Merrill. We haven't done an episode over there in a while. We got some stuff going on, but we're going to bring some new content out with all the college football, NFL stuff that we'll talk about as the draft gets closer to. We'll be talking stuff like that. But then all your OU content, go over the Anything OU podcast. Got some great interviews with a lot of former athletes, players, coaches, stuff like that. And you can find us all on the major platforms. And then you podcasters, Google and or Spotify and Apple, and then all the YouTube, all that good stuff. So yeah, hit us up. Love some subscribers and some followers over there. So,
hey guys, you guys can find us at the Horns Down Podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that, YouTube. Hey, check us out. Ty, Jay, and myself, we're going to be talking about NIL. Okay. Sorry for the typos on that, but I mean, like literally, we're going to jump into this and really break it down for you guys. This NIL thing. There's some big things happening. Tomorrow, there's a hearing, all types of stuff right here. So it's the direction of NIL, left or right. So we'll explain more. I'm going to jump over there. Ty, thanks for letting me come on. Jason, Drew, you know you my guys. Holla at me.
See you, bro.
Oh, yeah. Auburn, my
Absolutely.
That's how he left the game.
That's
how he leaves the game, bro.
He always it's his style, man.
That's his style. And for any of you that watched that, any new viewers, if you thought that we obviously are messing with each other, all right?
This is calling card.
This is what we do. But until next time, that's it. See y'all.
See you, fellas.
Spinning wheel.